So good morning and welcome to this week's Business Bites. This week I am delighted to be joined by the fabulous Lesley Burrows, who is the Managing Director of Positive Footprints, and that's only one hat that she wears. So good morning, Lesley.
Morning, Lisa. Fabulous might be a bit of an overkill, but we'll go with that. We'll go with it.
I'm sure by the end of this video, everybody's going to think you're fabulous. Thank you so much for giving up your time and chatting to me today. I know you're a very busy lady. I know you wear lots of hats and you do loads of great stuff for our community, especially in Lancashire. So can I ask you to start, Lesley, for those viewers and listeners that might not know who you are and your background, to just share a little bit about Lesley Burrows and where she started?
Yeah, sure. So Lesley Burrows was Leslie Jakes in her younger years, or if I wanted to be posh, Jacks, but I weren't posh, so it was Jakes. Something like that. So yeah, I grew up on Stoops Estate in Burnley. I've always lived and worked in Burnley. Love Burnley. I'm a Burnley girl. It's a brilliant place to live. Big up the Burnley bondholders.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a brilliant place to live. My family are here. So I have a husband, a brilliant husband, and two beautiful girls. And we live in Burnley and work in Burnley, and the kids go to school in Burnley.
Wow.
So I grew up on Stoops. I lived there for 21 years, if someone doesn't know Stoops Estate. It's a brilliant estate. It's a council estate and has had its challenges, as often council estates do. My mum, Irene, the lovely Ireneo, brought us up, and I'm one of four. So
Right.
I have a brother and three sisters. So we were brought up on Stoops Estate, and we had a great childhood. We had challenges like others do, but my mum consistently brought us up to have these values and this self-belief. I mean, she would celebrate everything, that woman. So everything that we did that was great, she celebrated, and she brought us up to believe that we could be and do anything that we wanted, and she was absolutely right. But she didn't miss out that, but you have to work at it. And so that was the bit that's important. But she completely went out of her way to bring us up to believe that we had purpose and we had value. And I'll be forever grateful for her for that.
So those are those old school values of, you know, helping those less fortunate, working really hard, calling John your uncle even if he's not.
Yeah. And just share a smile and be happy and bring joy to people. And you know, if you give to others, your life will be enriched. Don't get me wrong, she didn't take us to countries across the world to try and, you know, do anything massive. It was just a general, be a good person, build good relationships, be kind to people. That will bring you joy. And just work hard, find something you love and work hard at it.
That sense of grounding, Lesley, is really important, isn't it, though, in whatever you decide to do? And I think you've hit the nail on the head there, actually. There's, you know, we all encourage our kids that they can be whatever they want to be, and it's great that they have dreams and aspirations, but it's about making those real as well. You know, we are very similar upbringing, council estate, work really hard, old school values, and I think that's what kind of grounds you. You can get the holidays abroad and everything after, can't you?
But should, because it's good. But it's not in itself, is not the thing that makes you who you should be. And the other thing that she did, which was great, is she also talked to us about the fact that the world won't necessarily see things the way you see things. So you can be kind or be a good person, and there'll be others that aren't, and there'll be others that judge you, and there'll be others that don't accept you as you are. But you've got to work around those people, and actually what you've got to do is try and work with those people to bring them alongside, rather than you know, just try and stay away from them. So we had a brilliant childhood, but at the same time we were disadvantaged. You know, we weren't disadvantaged in our home. We didn't have a lot of stuff. We had a lot of love and you know, a mad mum, and we had loads of fun. It was a great. We could write a book, we won't, but we could. But the thing is, we were disadvantaged. So we went to a school where the teachers were great, but the secondary schools that we went to didn't expect kids from our neighbourhoods to perform really well. You know, so there was an expectation, external expectation of us, that you'd probably just end up like everybody else that was on your estate. By the way, great people on our estate, you know, but there was a perception, an external perception, which I always hated. And I just always thought, what is the world, that's the case. And I remember when I was 18 and I applied for, I did well at school. I had a good experience at school, loved education, went to Hardyclough School, loved it, went to Habigam High School, loved that. Went to Habigam sixth form, but I really had a desire to do something, to work, to do something good. So I've always been driven to do something good, and I've always been confident, so that's helpful. My mum's always, we're not all confident in our family, by the way, it's not a given.
There's always a one cheek, Lesley, there's always
There's always, yeah, we're all remarkably different. So yeah, which is great. So at 18, I didn't want to go to university. I could have done, but I didn't. My mum would like, oh, Lesley, you could go to university. I don't want to, Mum. I want to work. So she supported that 100%. She was gutted because, of course, being on Stoots Estate and going to university was a thing then. It's not now, I don't think, but it was then. But I didn't want to. And as I started applying for jobs, I sent out about 100 and something CVs.
Wow.
And got nothing. And by the way, I was a good persuasive writer, so it wasn't the quality of my CV. It was the fact that my address was Florence Avenue.
Was that what it was? I was just going to ask what was putting those things off.
I don't think that were everybody, but when I got an interview at a local company, and I had a conversation with them about, how come, because I didn't get in from the CV, I got in because my sister worked in one part of the company and sort of got me in another way.
Yep.
We spoke about it, and it was, we've had problems with kids from Stoots, with young people from Stoots or whatever, and you're like, okay, but the fact is those barriers are there. There is discrimination for one reason or another. So I was just at that point in time like, this is not going to be a problem for me. I'm not going to allow it to be a problem for me. I'm also not going to allow it to be a problem that I'm a girl, because I went to have an interview. My first interview for a full-time job was with 4 men. I know, it was a ridiculous. And I just thought, I don't care that you're men and I'm a young girl. I'm going to just show you that me.
Yep.
But I'm lucky because I've had that from a very young age. But a lot of the kids that we see don't. They have a lot of older people we see don't. But I've worked my way up in roles. Started off in buying, as you've mentioned. I started off as a buyer.
What were you buying, Lesley?
I was buying car seat fabric. I was buying materials to make car seat covers. And so, well, I did start there sewing the car seat covers, but I was rubbish at that. But I wanted to be in the buying department, and I loved it. And I built relationships and negotiated, loved it, absolutely loved it. But it didn't give me, I wasn't doing anything that I felt was meaningful.
It wasn't feeding your soul, was it?
No, but it was good. I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't. So I was looking for that thing. So I moved onto a couple of jobs and the first one that I got that was about helping people, which is what I wanted to do, was at Burnley Enterprise Trust.
Oh, yes. So
I became the office manager at Burnley Enterprise Trust and worked with a fabulous gentleman called Colin Tempest. And so he sort of let me run loose, helping businesses, and I was really inspired by all these businesses that were setting up, and I was driven at that point to do more. What can I do to help people? So I ended up moving into a company called Vidus Recruitment and Training, another brilliant company where we help people progress in their career, and we help people who had not been employed. We ran a lot of welfare to work programs, and so it was a really good opportunity to see what the issues were with people who were underemployed, unemployed, and by underemployed I mean doing something less than they are capable of doing, or not enabling to get them to deliver against their full potential. We had a big problem in Burnley with underemployment. We still do, because the people weren't driven or didn't have a sense of belief that they could hire or they could do more. And also we had a problem with the jobs not being available at that time. We're in a bit of a different world now. So I then got involved with, through that, a company called Calico, who I love. I love the Calico Group.
You just down from there, have you?
Nearly, almost. Yeah, so this is my last year. So we're just starting the recruitment for group chair. So I chair the Calico Group, and I have done for 9 years. So I got involved with the Calico Group and saw how much of an impact, because it was known as a housing association. It started as a housing association, but grew into a regeneration type organisation where we look at skills and care and support and drug rehabilitation and homelessness, and just the impact that an organisation with a will to change people's lives can have. Yeah. So once you get involved with an organisation like that, and the wonderful thing around that is that the Calico Group own the house that I grew up in. So it was a stock transfer from the council to the Calico Group. So there was a bit of an affinity. So they served the neighbourhoods that I care about. Yeah. And so there was a real personal impact there. So for 9 years I worked with the Calico Group. And during those 9 years, I sort of started to think, I'm at Vedas, and I were at Vedas running I was managing director. And I thought, we've got a problem here with young people, because the cycle of people coming out of education or as in adult age, not having an understanding of how brilliant they are or how capable they are, not having the basic technique of being able to articulate anything about themselves in a way that will get them a job, regardless of the employability skills. If you can't get the job, you're not going to be able to sustain the job. And the lack of self-belief and self-worth, and we were working with these people, which is great, but by the time we'd work with them, their kids were then coming out of education and we were starting all over again. So the cycle was just self-perpetuating. And I thought, we've got to get in earlier. We've got to do something that gives these kids what my mum gave me.
Yes, but early.
But early, yeah. Because actually, the earlier we can do it, then that breaks the cycle. And the earlier these kids can start to have a positive impact on themselves, but in families and in the neighbourhoods. So I set up Positive Footprints in 2012. With the aim of working with education, so kids in schools, primary, secondary, FE, to build aspiration, open up the world of work, and I'll explain why that's important in a second, and then also give them the skills they need to articulate the great things about themselves and make things happen, and build the resilience. So whatever, I didn't know what I was going to do, I just knew that's what I needed to do, as you know full well. And you sit in an office that you've just hired on day one, and you're thinking, right, there's just me. Yep. How do I make this happen? And so from there in 2012, we're now sort of, where are we now, 2028 years on, working with over 250 schools, raising aspirations of more than 10,000 children every year, working with brilliant businesses who are enabling the schools to have the programme. But what I wanted to do, and that's great, isn't it? We really feel really privileged that we get to do that. It's remarkable that we're in the position we're in. But that's because people grasped hold of the vision.
Yes.
And they went, yeah, do you know what? That seems like a sensible thing to do. But we had to make it happen, and we had to engage with education. And I didn't know anything about education, apart from obviously being in education.
Yep.
Wow. Did I learn? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a world of its own, education.
But what I knew about education was that it was full of people who really cared about young people, who really cared about the future of young people, and they were operating in an environment that was restricted on loads of different levels, and they had the will to do lots of stuff, but they didn't necessarily have the whereabouts to do anything other than teach, educate, impart knowledge on the curriculum, work within Ofsted guidance. And so to expect these teachers to bring the world of work and to bring aspiration and all of that into education, when these people have been to school, college, university, and they're now back in school. So what we decided to do was design something and work on something that would do that for them. So would bring the world of work into the classroom, that it wasn't a visiting thing, that this was a part of the fabric of the school. So the reason that we're still doing it now, 8 years on, is because we've made it so that the school can deliver it. So the teachers deliver our programme in their classrooms to their kids. And they don't have to be experts in that. They're experts in teaching,
yes.
and they're experts in their kids. They know the kids.